Good morning, Year 4, and welcome to your English lesson today. Today we're learning to use speech punctuation. Now, I know we've done this in Year 3, but we have to use correctly punctuated speech in our myth, so it's worth doing another lesson on it today. The important thing about speech punctuation is it allows the reader to understand what someone is saying, exactly what they're saying, and who is saying it. So let's have a look at some speech. Here I've got two soldiers saying things. This one on the left is saying, "That man has Caesar's gladius." The other one's saying, "Actually, I brought this gladius from home." Now, we know they're saying it because the words are in speech bubbles, and we know who's saying it because they are pointing at their picture. But obviously, we don't have that in our myth, so we need to turn that into correctly punctuated speech. So let's have a look at how we do that. So let's take the first one. That man has Caesar's gladius. Well, the words, "that man has Caesar's gladius," are the actual things that are being said by the soldier. So here they are. This is what he's saying. You'll notice that after he said it, there's a punctuation here. There are some punctuation here, and some more information here. So let's go through what they are. So, that man has Caesar's gladius is the actual words being said. Here and here are the inverted commas. Now, these inverted commas tell you that these words here, in between the opening of the inverted commas and the closing inverted commas, are the words that are being said. Cried the soldier is not within inside the inverted commas, so these words are not actually being said. There is some punctuation here that is inside the inverted commas, and here you can either have a comma if it's not the end of a sentence, an exclamation mark if someone's really shouting it, or a question if someone's asking a question. You can sometimes have a full stop here as well if it's the end of the sentence. We'll come on to that later. But if you look here, this is not the end of the sentence because we still have cried the soldier. There's the end of the sentence. He's not shouting it. He's not asking a question, so therefore I put a comma here. So open up the inverted commas, say what the soldier is going to say, the actual words he says, then I put the punctuation here, and then I have the inverted commas. Here in green, you can see is the verb of how he said it. Now, I could just put simply said, but cried is a bit more interesting. I could have cried, shouted, exclaimed, something like that would be much more exciting. There are loads out there, so make sure you look in the thesaurus for some much better words for said. And the soldier here in the gold colour is telling you who said it. So put all this together. Well, I know that between the inverted commas here are the words that are being said. This comma tells me it's not being shouted, it's not a question, and it's not the end of the sentence. The cried bit tells me how the soldier says it, the verb of how he did it, and the soldier tells me who actually said it. So for the reader, I know what's being said, how it's being said, and who's saying it. So let's look at this one. Actually, I brought the gladius from home. Again, the same thing. Actually, I brought this gladius from home is the words that are being said. Inside the inverted commas here is telling you that these are the words being said. Again, you can see I've got my comma before the inverted comma to tell the reader this is not the end of the sentence yet. Replied is telling me how he said it, and Maximus is telling me who said it. So I know the words that are being said, I know how it's being said, and I know who's saying it. And I know this is definitely the speech because I have inverted commas opening here, and I have inverted commas closing here after this punctuation. So let's move on to another way of doing speech. So again, I've got two people speaking here. This gladiator saying, "Why on earth are you stepping on my shield?" Notice he's asking a question. There's a question mark there. This man saying, "I'm terribly sorry, but I have glue on my feet." And he is really shouting it. He's got an exclamation mark on the end of what he's saying. So again, let's look how we can turn that into properly punctuated speech. So the first man, "Why on earth are you stepping on my shield?" Here's the words he's saying. Why on earth are you stepping on my shield? Again, we've started with the inverted commas to open it. We've got the inverted commas here to close at the end of the speech. But this time, the punctuation before the inverted commas is a question mark to tell you, the reader, that this is a question that's being asked. Now I've got my verb again in green here, asked. In gold again, the gladiator is telling you who'd asked it, but I've actually chucked in another skill here, which is to put an adverb to how he did it. Now, I could have used this earlier, but I thought I'd bring it in now. So if we look at this speech, inverted commas telling you we're about to start talking. Why on earth are you stepping on this shield? Question mark tells me this is something being said, and it's a question. Close the inverted commas here tells me that's the end of what's being said. Asked tells me the verb as to how he's doing it. The gladiator is telling me who's saying it, and loudly gives me a bit more information about how he's doing the asking. So, inverted commas, speech, punctuation before the end of inverted commas, close the inverted commas, verb, person who's saying it, adverb to go with the verb. Let's look at the next one. I'm terribly sorry, but I've glue on my feet. Again, open up the inverted commas before we do the actual talking bit. He's exclaiming it this time, so I have an exclamation mark before I close the inverted commas. Explained is telling you how he's saying it. Octavius is telling you who's saying it. And apologetically gives more information about how he explained it. So I'm terribly sorry, but I have glue on my feet, explained Octavius apologetically. This is what he's saying it, how he's saying it, who's saying it, and a bit more information about how he said it here. So those are your basic success criteria for day for using speech punctuation. It's really important today that we remember to use all of that punctuation. It's really important. The big mistake that people always make is that this piece of punctuation here must come before the closing of the inverted commas. So it's either going to be a comma, a question mark, an exclamation mark, or a full stop at times before we put this. So let's just remind ourselves how this works. Why on earth are you stepping on my shield? Asked the gladiator loudly. First of all, you need to write the speech. Why on earth are you stepping on my shield? Then you would put the punctuation after the word shield. Then you would add in the inverted commas around the speech. Then you would write the verb for how it's asked, how it's said. Then you put who is saying it. And finally, you would put the adverb. So when you're coming to write your speech today, write down the speech as to what's being said. Then put the punctuation after it, comma, exclamation mark, question mark. Then put the inverted commas around the speech. If you do that after you've written the speech, it's a lot easier to go back and check you got it in the right place. Then write the verb for how it's said, then write who is saying it, and then put an adverb to go with it. The last thing I want to look at today is a slightly more complicated way of doing speech punctuation. This is called split speech. What happens here is that the one person is saying something, but rather than putting the verb, the person who's saying it, and the adverb at the end, we stick it in the middle. So let's have a look at this sentence. There appears to be a frog in my Flavia's soup, complained the senator angrily, and it is munching her vegetables. So here, the senator is actually saying these words. There appears to be a frog in my Flavia's soup, and it is munching her vegetables. But rather than putting all that together, we're putting the actual in the middle. It's almost like two bits of the sentence here, isn't it? There's a frog in the soup, and it's munching vegetables here. Okay, so there are two main parts of the sentence, and we are sticking the bit in the middle about who's saying it. Notice here that I start with the inverted commas, opening them. Then I put my comma, because this is not the end of the sentence. Then I have my closing the inverted commas. Then I have how it's said, the verb. Then I said who's saying it, the senator. Then I have my adverb, angrily. A comma again to show you that we're now going to carry on the sentence. Open up the inverted commas again because I'm going to carry on talking. Notice how the and has a lowercase and, not a capital. That is, of course, because it's not the beginning of the sentence. It is almost the middle of this sentence. And it is munching on her vegetables. Again, the punctuation before you close the inverted commas. So you've learned how to do normal speech punctuation and you've learned how to do split speech punctuation. I suggest if you're struggling a bit with this, rewind the video, have another look at it. It's not that complicated to do the split speech. You just have to remember to do double up on the punctuation that you're doing. So, in today's learning, this is your sheet you're going to be working on. You can see the success criteria in the top left, and you've got 4 pictures of Romans there. The first activity I'd like you to do, there are 4 sentences there that are missing all of the speech punctuation. All that's there is the words that are being said. So I need you to add in the inverted commas, the verb, the adverb, the punctuation, and who is saying it. Obviously, a lot of that is up to you, who you pick, what they're going to be saying, how they're saying it, but I just want you to fix the sentences that are there so they're correct. The next activity is, I want you to have a go at using those pictures to create your own sentences. Those sentences are all just speech. I don't want descriptive sentences today. I want the whole thing to be about speech and nothing else. And I would like you to make sure you are definitely correctly punctuating it. That is the important thing today. I don't want any sentences that are missing their punctuation. I want to see, can you use split speech in there? I know you can do normal speech punctuation, but can you feel a bit inspired to do some split speech as well? I think you should be able to do at least 2 or 3 sentences per picture. So we're talking somewhere between 8 and a few more sentences after that. Okay? Right, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how you get on today, and I hope you get on well with this speech punctuation.